From the boardroom to the community, from tech startups to mental health advocacy, Myra Maloba presents to you the Women Per Excellence podcast. Each week, join the queen of interviews as she takes you through visionary women who are breaking barriers and leading change. Together, let's amplify these remarkable voices, inspiring the world, one story at a time.
Hi everyone, my name is Myra Maloba, and for those who might not know me, I am a mother first of all. Let's start there. And I am also a wife and a radio presenter at Icon Radio, as well as the founder and managing director. I wear a lot of hats, but I am glad to be here as a first-time podcaster. This particular podcast is called Women Per Excellence, and it is a podcast that is dedicated to amplifying the voices of exceptional women across diverse fields, including business, technology, mental wellness, community leadership, influence, and politics. And by sharing the stories of these phenomenal women, we aim to inspire, educate, and empower listeners while creating a platform that aligns with brands that are committed to supporting women. And there are quite a number that have stepped into the space, and we look forward as weeks to go on to be able to highlight them as well as amplify the things that they do within different fields. All right, this is the first episode. I'm excited as well as nervous, but I have spoken to our first two guests before on my show, and I am glad to have them back. I am glad to be speaking to them also in a different capacity. So I'd like to welcome first Catherine. Thank you so much for being with us. Now, Catherine is a seasoned leader with expertise in governance, risk management, compliance, audit, and accounting. She currently holds a position of co-chair at the Institute of Risk Management, East Africa Group, and serves as an Internal Audit Manager at Absa Life Assurance Kenya. Now, Catherine earned her MBA from Mankosa Honoris University in South Africa, and holds a Bachelor of Commerce degree from the University of Nairobi, Kenya. And she is a graduate member of IRM, a certified public accountant of Kenya, holds a certificate in cybersecurity, and is a Global Reporting Initiative certified sustainability professional. Now, her profile goes on and on, but now I can't spill everything right now. But we'll be going more into what Catherine does because it is quite a lot and it's quite impressive. We also have Eva with us. We're so glad to have you back. So great to see you with us again. Now, for Eva, you've been in the financial field for quite some time. She is a credit expert and trainer with over 20 years of experience in credit and financial planning. She helps people prepare for and access the credit they need to grow. She simplifies the loan process, which we'll talk about at length, and also guiding people who come to her every step of the way to achieve your financial goals and unlock new opportunities. We'll also be delving more into what you do, but apart from that, she holds an MBA in finance from Northwood University, Michigan, USA, and a bachelor's degree from Kenyatta University. Thank you so much for being with us. So let us start off with the fact that we're doing this in March, and this is the International Women's Month. So what a way to start, what a powerful way to start. And the theme for this month is Women in Leadership. Now, that title in itself holds quite a lot in itself. Let's start with the word leadership. What does it mean to you, Catherine?
Simply, I would say leadership is about service. That's how I understand it. And that's how I'd like to understand it. And because a lot of times we think that leadership, or most people may think that leadership is when you have people following you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you give instructions, you guide them, and they follow what you're saying. Right. Yeah, but that's a wrong definition. Yeah, I'd rather go with a servant leadership, whereby you're there to help people, to empower people to be the best versions of themselves. Yeah, and that's what I would define as a good leader. Yes.
I'll ask the same to you.
Thank you. I also look at leadership as simply, providing direction. But providing direction doesn't always mean you have to give instructions and orders and people follow you. Sometimes it is understanding where that person is and how you can get them. I preach a lot about empathy leadership because I feel you first need to understand people, and then for each person, they require a different kind of leadership.
Right.
And as Kate has said, you have to work at getting people to be better than where you found them. Leading is not just throwing instructions and having them done,
right,
but you have to develop the individual as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, let us just start from the roots. Yeah. Just to understand both of you a little bit better. Okay. Why did you choose the path you're in right now in business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll say when I was growing up, both my parents were teachers. Oh. And I thought, since I grew up in the village, I thought the best career I can be in is a teacher, because that was the best I saw when I was there. As I went to college and started working, I realized there's something called training. Yeah. You're able to train people, which obviously at that point, what I was thinking, it pays better than teaching. Yes. That's what I was thinking, that's the route I'll take. Yes. But then in which subject? Yeah. So when I was in college in Strathmore, I was doing my accounting course, CPA, Certified Public Accounting course, and I was good in auditing. Right. In fact, my friends nicknamed me as auditor. Oh. Yeah. They called me auditor. Yeah. In fact, I meet with some of them and I'm telling them, you're the one who determined my path then. Yeah, so I liked auditing because, I think it has some like concepts like teaching, because you review what people are doing and then you recommend a better way of doing things. Right. Yeah, check whether they are doing things right, and then you recommend a better way of doing things. Yeah. In other words, transforming that process that you're looking at or that control that you're looking at. So when I left campus, that was the first job I landed in. I started working in Ernst & Young as an auditor. And then at that point, we had a lot of people who were going to the islands, Cayman Islands, Channel Islands, and I got an opportunity to go to Channel Islands, and I worked there as an auditor with Deloitte in the UK for 3 years. Wow. Yeah. When I came back, I loved the auditing thing, first of all, because of the respect that people give you as an auditor. And then also the process, seeing that you're helping people transform to be better. That was the inspiring part of it. Yes. Then later on, when I was in the UK, 2007, 2008. I hope that doesn't make people start guessing my age.
We're counting backwards.
Yeah, we experienced a financial credit crisis that wiped out a lot of businesses. Right. Yeah, and it was quite interesting because I was doing audits and we were giving clean reports. Yeah. Suddenly, those companies have collapsed. So what may have gone wrong? And that's when we started hearing about risk management. Like when you're doing an audit, you just don't need to confirm that people are doing what they're supposed to do. Right. You also need to ask questions that, fine, if this is what they have decided, how is it going to affect the strategy of the company in the long term? Right. Because a lot of employees, I would say, are they're short-minded. And especially, we've seen it happening where companies are collapsing. You're only thinking about it, but you don't think about the sustainability of that organization. Right. So you want to be in a place whereby you want to ask those questions. What can go wrong? Yeah, you have your strategy. What can go wrong that we don't achieve? Things like employee succession planning. Do we have the right people with the right integrity? Are they able to move us to the next level within the strategy? So their risk management became famous. Right. It became a common topic in Europe, that is. And I thought I want to engage in risk management to know what exactly happened. But then my contract was ending then. I came back to Kenya. So when you mentioned risk management, it sounded so foreign. It sounded so foreign. So I joined a bank. The risk management function, as big, it's among the top 5 banks we have in Kenya.
Okay.
It only had 2 people in the risk department. They were focusing more on business continuity. They were not doing the whole risk subject for the bank. And so I spoke to the head of risk. There were no opportunities. So I thought, let me go to internal audit. It's still a control function, like check and challenge function. And then I wait for this risk management to be known in this part of the world, because it was mainly in financial services. The rest of the organizations didn't have a risk department.
Right.
So I waited until, I stayed there for about 10 months and I realized, it's not working for me. So I decided to join an audit firm again, went back home. And again, there were only 3 staff within their risk management department.
Right.
So the partner then advised me, why don't you start in internal audit? You can always move to risk management. But again, for a long time, 3 years, it didn't happen. But fortunately, the insurance regulator released some guidelines after those 3 years. And he said that every insurer must have a risk manager.
There you go.
So we have over 40 insurance companies, so those are 40 opportunities.
It must have been scrambling.
Yeah, for those who understood and were interested in the profession. So that's how I started risk management.
Okay.
And I continued. So maybe I'll get to the point of where I joined the profession as a chair.
Yeah.
But that's how I decided on that profession.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
thank you.
I'll ask you the same, Eva. What made you choose this path?
Okay, it's very interesting, and my path is close to Kate. I, on the other hand, knew nothing about credit. So when I went to college, I did a teaching degree.
Right.
I went to KU, so I did a BEd, and really my mother was a teacher. So it made sense.
Yes.
But then when I finished KU at the time, which I can't say, TSC at the time was not employing.
Okay.
So we were not posted. So I found myself, having thought that I would leave campus with a job, I didn't have one.
Right.
But while I was in campus, before I even joined campus, I'd stumbled into CPA. Not anything I wanted to do, but it kept me busy.
Right.
So I had done my CPAs. So when I finished campus, I was looking for a job, and I got a job in an audit firm. So I was an audit associate. So I did auditing for about 9 months. But unlike Kate, for me, audit just didn't click for me.
Yeah.
It was not the path I wanted to do.
Right.
So I realized the only way to change my path, because now I'm a teacher, and here again I'm trying to be an auditor, how about I just go do my master's, and then I do in a totally different field. So that is how I applied to do a master's. I was lucky to go to the US as well. So that's when I did my master's and MBA in finance.
Okay.
And that is how now I started getting to the financial industry. But when I finished, I think every time I finish school, something happens. Because I also finished hoping to get a very big job in the US.
Right.
But I graduated in 2001.
Ah.
And the 9/11 happened, and suddenly they started looking at immigrants as enemies. So it wasn't that easy to get a job. But I was fortunate enough to get a temp job for Merrill Lynch, the big Merrill Lynch at the time.
Yes.
And the only opportunity I got was in fund management, which is really mostly, we were dealing with pension schemes. So I really didn't learn much about it, but at first I didn't get much into it, but now I got the interest. I moved from a temporary person, I got a permanent job, and I grew into fund management. But then the bug to come back home. Right. I wanted to come back home, and I really just missed the credit crunch. So it was perfect timing for me. So when I came back home, now the fund management at the time was not also where it is today. I think other than what is it called, Britam at the time. You know, the old mutuals, very few companies were doing it.
Right.
So, and I needed a job.
Yeah.
So I saw an advert for a job in banking for a credit analyst. I didn't even know what a credit analyst does,
Right.
but I applied for the job anyway. In fact, I remember applying because the job was with a bank that used to give mortgages at the time.
Yeah.
So I said, let me go there so I can get a mortgage. And that is exactly what happened.
Oh.
So I got a job as a credit analyst.
Okay.
And I had to learn on the job.
Wait, so you went to look for a loan and you ended up applying for a job at the same time?
I wasn't even looking for a loan.
Yeah.
I just thought if I get a job there, it will be very easy for me to
That was the guiding thing for you.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I did, and I got into credit. And that is how I started understanding credit bit by bit, bit by bit. Of course, that small role as a credit analyst grew, to manager credit, to head of credit. I moved from just dealing with individuals to dealing with businesses to dealing with corporates. And that is how I found myself here in credit. So maybe we'll go later as to how I chose to do this on my own.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, coming up in your role, Catherine, did you ever find an opportunity to lead?
Yes, and many times. And I think I'm grateful for my profession, audit, because the way audit works is that you always have a team. You have an assignment and you have a team. The team will have, like, from the partner level, manager level, then the rest of the team members. So, of course, the first year, you're just a team member because you're learning.
Right.
But the second year, by the time they're taking the next stock of people, then you go one level up. So you start leading from that level. So as soon as the second year, you're already leading.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. And I remember, I started that in Ernst & Young. Then I was there for just below 2 years.
Yeah.
Then I went to the UK. And I was qualified amongst my peers, my colleagues. I was qualified with a degree and a professional qualification. So I was given this big task of fund management, actually, a big fund manager with a fund administrator and hedge funds below it, umbrella funds, protected cell companies, complex things that you've never had here. Yeah. But that's the beauty of audit, I think, and that's why I stayed on, because it throws you to the deep waters. Right. You have to discover and understand these things before now you can start challenging. So the first assignment I was given, and then I was only 20, that was in 2006, so I was only 25.
Oh, wow.
And I was given a team of 7 young people. All were British nationals.
Oh, wow.
They were all men. I was the only lady and the manager on the team. So you can imagine, first of all, language barrier.
Yes.
Okay, I speak good English, but there are some things that are not exactly the same.
Right.
So when I say, it's supposed to be said agreement, I say agreement.
Yes.
My Kenyan English. And they'll hear something like pilgrimage, So language was a big problem, but I still managed, because I had to tell myself, I have the technical side of things. I understand technical, so it's okay. I'll manage to still lead the team. And we successfully managed that audit. And it was taking 3 months, so we used to work late. It was during winter, first of all, so weather was another challenge. Cultural differences. Kenyans, we have this social thing in the morning on a Monday. Oh, hi, how was your weekend? Finding out. In our office, would go and sit at your desk. Nobody talks to you. Even your next neighbor doesn't bother. They don't talk to you.
They were as cold as their weather.
Yeah. And you're thinking, at first I'm thinking, is it because I'm a foreigner?
Yes.
But then I realized, even amongst themselves, they're not. So that's how I started. I struggled at first because of all those differences we had, but that was the first big team that I ever led in my career.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Did ever at any one point, and I'm sure at 25, imposter syndrome set in, and how did you overcome it?
Yes, of course. I had an imposter syndrome from the word go. First of all, because this is a foreign space.
Yes.
Yeah. Remember, I'm still very young. And I'm thinking people who get such positions, I was going in as an assistant manager. The assistant managers we had in Kenya are people who have worked for like 5+ years. I'm in my first year. Yeah, I've only done 1 year, and I'm thinking, will I manage? Will I make it? I'm a lady. The English is not exactly the same. So you start feeling like, will I really manage all this? Yeah. So, and it happens to date. We still feel like I'm not good enough for this. But yeah, you have to silence that voice and tell it, no, we are not going there. Yes, that happens.
Eva, you also came up in a very male-dominated field. But apart from that, you're in the States.
Yeah.
You have gone into a big firm.
Yes.
And you're trying to also break the language barrier at the same time, trying to make sure that they understand that you're qualified in what you're doing. So what was the first instance for you for leadership, and how did you tackle it?
It also happened for me in Merrill Lynch because after I did a temporary job where I just worked in the fund management department, really just simple tasks. And then with time, I guess because of our training, in Kenya we have very good training. So with time you get noticed. And there was this lady, and she was my boss at the time, and she just started paying attention to me, and she would, she'd give me slightly more than what others were doing. And eventually she gave me a role, and I had 2 people under me. And for me as well, they were Americans. And the language, Americans are not even as polite as the English people. Them, when they don't hear what you're saying, they just shout, pardon? And you shake in your boots. And for them, they use different words. I remember the first time I said in the office, I'm looking for a biro. And everybody looked at me like, I'm looking for a weapon. Them, they only call it a pen. So getting used to that lingo, calling crisps, chips, and it was very hard. And then now on top of that, you have to be in charge of these people and tell them what to do. But then I just, as Kate said, of course you question yourself and you think, what am I doing? And even I was very young, actually. At the time, I was just 24 as well. So I was very young, and I'm just thinking, what am I doing? There are times I used to think I'll just run out of this office. But, I did a lot of reading. I'll do a lot of reading in the night so that when I come tomorrow, I know I would listen to some videos just to know how to pronounce some of the words so that they don't keep telling me, pardon. So, And then from there, I just grew. By the time I was leaving the US, I was in charge of a team of 5 people. So I had gotten used to this thing, and I started realizing they would look up to me because I knew so much more, not just about the office. Our education system teaches us to know so much more. In fact, I always give a joke. Once I found 2 people in the office arguing that Morocco is in South America.
Wow.
The one was saying is in South America, and the other one was saying it is in Europe.
Wow.
And then I walked in and I told them, no, Morocco is in Africa. And then they were like, no. Then there was a lady seated at the corner, and she told me, you should listen to Eva. Eva knows many things. She must be right. So you eventually just grow slowly and get there.
Now, let's rewind back now into how you truly got into now what you do now, risk management. Now, what set you truly now into that path?
Thank you for that. So, like I said, I really wanted, after the financial credit crisis, I really wanted to know what went wrong. And, with my passion of transforming organizations, I wanted to be at a place where I can help organizations avoid such circumstances that lead them to collapse. Because you want to see organizations thriving because they are taking care of employees, they are taking care of many other things within the society. So, like I said, the regulator issued the guidelines, so we got jobs. And I got a job as risk and compliance manager. And I moved to Absa, where I am now, in the same role, doing risk management. But then along the way, there were some changes, so I moved back to audit. But then at some point, I still felt my heart is in risk. Yeah.
Right.
And I would say 3 years ago. And I wanted to be the go-to person in risk management. I didn't know how. Every year I used to wake up, I do my New Year resolutions, and I write, I want to have visibility in risk management.
Right.
But I didn't know how to. So one time, one of my friends, those 3 years ago, one of my friends was doing coaching. And she asked me if I can be a client. As you know, you practice coaching live, you record, and then you give to the mentor to mark it for you. And I was like, fine. So she asked me, so what's your objective? I told her I want to increase my visibility in risk management.
Right.
So of course you come up with actions. What are you going to do to achieve that objective? And I told her one of the things I've seen is the Institute of Risk Management in the UK are asking for board members to fill positions for board membership. And I told her I'm going to call the current chair of IRM in East Africa to ask her about it.
Okay.
And I did that. I called her, and she told me, now, if you apply for that board position and you can't demonstrate any work you've done for the institute,
Yes.
you're likely to be disqualified.
Okay.
So I'd suggest you come for a meeting I'm having with people. Our term is ending. You just come for a meeting, and then we can decide whether what sort of work you can do for the institute before you get to applying for board positions. And I went for that meeting, and she gave us the criteria. This is how you're going to. These are the qualifications and the experience you need to serve in this position.
Okay.
So it happened that the team that I was with, I was the most qualified for that position for the chair. And that fear came again. I'm like, I'm not ready. Surely, the chair then is a strong person. Today she's known. As in, you mentioned risk management, it's her.
Yes.
So how do I fit into her shoes? That was the biggest question for me. And I went home. We formed a WhatsApp group, the few of us who went for the meeting. And I was wondering, do I want to offer myself for anything? There was the role of the chair, the secretary, and the treasurer, amongst those others. But I'm like, am I ready to do this? And I spoke to one of my mentors.
Right.
And he told me, before you sleep tonight, you have to write that message. You're offering yourself for the chair's position. I'm like, are you sure? He said, yes, you have to do it. So I wrote the message. I sent to the group. I was so nervous. Like I didn't even want my phone near me because I'm thinking, I've just said, I don't want to see those responses.
Right.
Let me just sleep. So even the following day, to switch on my phone, I was nervous because I didn't know what the others are going to say.
Let's take a break there. We leave it on a cliffhanger. We come back with the responses and how it affected you.
Yes.
We're here on Women by Excellence. We're getting phenomenal stories from phenomenal women. We'll be back right after this. We're back on Women per Excellence. We're having amazing stories being told by our guests today, Catherine and Eva. We were left at a cliffhanger. What happened with the WhatsApp messages in the morning?
So I woke up and within that team, there's one person who was really pushing. And this is where you realize there's a difference between us women and men. Because there's one paper he had not completed, but he was really pushing.
Right.
I just happened to offer myself first, so that's how I got it.
Yes.
But if I had relaxed, then maybe it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of how, as women, tend to shoot ourselves in the foot.
Right.
That voice we allow to tell us that I'm not capable, I'm not good enough, I cannot fit in those shoes. We miss a lot of opportunities because of that. So that's what happened, and my colleague accepted. He's actually the other co-chair. We are two. We are two. So he's the one serving as a co-chair, and we work very well.
Yes.
But I like him because he can push his way through to get something which is maybe a character I don't have.
Yes.
But I'm learning a lot from him.
First
Yeah,
of
so
all,
that's how it
board positions is not something that a lot of people usually think of undertaking.
Yes.
But we're seeing more and more women stepping up to the roles. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
You got yet another one. So right now you're on 2 boards.
Actually, I'm in 4 boards.
Sorry. You are in 4 boards. So please just name them real quick.
Yeah, so this is separate from the institute's role,
Yes.
because the chair is not a board position.
Yes.
It's just a representative of the leadership for this region.
Okay.
But then along the way, I saw now a board position. Remember, she told me you can't apply?
Yes.
So a new board position came up. I applied and I got it because now I'm serving as the chair. So that's one of the boards I'm serving in.
Right.
I'm also serving in another renting company. They are in leasing.
Okay.
I'm actually chairing the Audit and Risk Committee there. I'm also in another one on distributors, one of the EABL distributors. I'm actually also the audit and risk. I tend to find myself in audit and risk chairmanship, and then a school in Karen.
Oh, wow.
A school in Karen.
Okay.
I'm actually the vice chair of the board.
Hey.
Yeah.
If you are the person that we are putting on our vision boards, I think we'll be in a very good space because you have achieved quite an amazing feat. And it's not a small thing. So congratulations once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think it's knowing what you want,
right,
and go for it. Yeah. Just do it. As Nike says, just do
it.
Go for it. Yeah.
Love it. Eva, you are also in a field that you've now stepped into as an owner.
Yes.
Please give us a little bit of insights.
Yes, so as I had shared before, I started as a small credit analyst, not even understanding the job. But of course, I needed to understand it, and I did. And within a year into that role, once again, someone spotted me, and I was given the role of an assistant manager. So for me, it just gave me that affirmation. I can do this thing, because if in less than 2 years, I've been given a management position, for sure I should do it. So I continued, and for most bankers, we don't stay in one bank.
Right.
We move around, and I did that, and I kept growing. Looking at different customers. I first started just looking at individuals, then I moved to SMEs. Then I moved to corporate. And in all this, you interact with a lot of business owners, because, everybody needs capital, and everybody starts a business. They hope to scale and grow. And sometimes you can do that from savings. So sometimes you have to turn to a financial institution for a loan.
Right.
So as I was doing this role, I noticed a lot of frustrations because banks have their requirements, and banks are very rigid. In fact, banking is one of those industries that have changed very little. Even with technology, really, banks say they've taken in technology, but it's just mobile banking and internet banking.
Yeah.
But how things are done behind there is still very rigid and very, you meet our requirements or you go. And so I would understand the frustration. When I moved into one bank, and even though I was a credit person, I had the opportunity to visit customers, which for me was very good.
Right.
Because even as I grew as a credit personality, credit person, many people kept telling me I don't have the personality of a credit person, because I tend credit people sit at the corner, look at paperwork, and give their decision.
Okay.
But I love to talk.
Okay.
So for me, it was always, I was very happy to get the opportunity to go out in the field. And when I did, I started interacting with these business people, and I just noticed we just don't understand them. Every business is different. So putting rules that a business should bring A, B, C, D just doesn't work. And when you're a business owner, it's not your job to know finance stuff.
Right.
You sell oranges. You're supposed to know about where to get the best oranges, how to transport them to your customers.
Right.
You're not supposed to know banking's required DSR and all these things.
Yes.
So it becomes very hard for most business owners, especially SMEs, to meet these requirements. And so when they go, what do they meet? Frustration and frustration. And they end up losing deals. So after about 15 years, about 16 years in banking, I felt I needed to go out there and now work with the actual businesses and help them to access credit.
Right.
So that is how I left banking after that many years. And I started to help. I used to do a training. I used to call it Credit 101 because I immediately realized people don't know so many things. And I think there's a lot of jargon in banking and lending. So I just wanted to first start by breaking that down and just letting people understand what it means when you ask you for your financials, what are we looking for, what is important, when we tell you to do a business profile, what do we want you to say. And so I would do that training. It used to be a short training. I'd do it for 1 hour. I got into many women groups. I went into this during COVID. Well, when I quit my job, I didn't know COVID was coming.
Yeah, none of us saw it coming.
But now I found myself there. But to some extent, it worked well for me also because a lot of people were home. And that's when we also launched a lot of Zoom meetings, working from home and having podcasts, all those things.
So there was opportunity.
Yes, but it took a minute to see it.
Right.
So I was able to, hop into many groups and get to talk about my credit. And that is how I just started growing slowly by slowly. Then our customers would approach me. Some knew me from my banking life. I had worked with them in one bank or the other. Now they needed a loan. They wanted someone to put their documents together. And then I would come in and I would do it. I put your, documents together. I think which is the best lender for you because it depends at where you are in your business.
Right.
It's not everybody who can go to a bank for a loan.
Yep.
There are some people who you need to start in a circle. There are some other ones you need to start, with a small microfinance. Some even just need to start with a mobile banking loan because credit is about building a history that other lenders can look at and rely on. So, in fact,
I was just saying we just need a whole new episode for you by yourself because I think that's a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions in everything that you said that a lot of people are seeking answers for because I think with the advent of how the economy has changed, almost everybody has turned towards being an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
And they are seeking for that advice when it comes to credit and to loans.
Exactly.
But again, this is how the both of you marry. You're able to advise on giving loans, but now risk management is something that we cannot avoid. Away from that, I'm always curious because, for me, being a mother, every time I was having a child, of course, there's that joy, but there's also that fear, what will happen to what it is that I'm doing? How did you manage to bridge the two, leading both at the office and at home?
Thanks for that. Yes, I do confirm I'm a mother of 2 and I'm a wife. And I would say when my children were younger, I didn't quite engage in a lot of things. I had employers who understood parenting. Like when I got my son, my employer used to allow me to report to work at 9 and leave by 3. So that I can go and do the things that mothers do.
Right.
Yeah. So I focused on my children and I wanted them to get to that point where, they are now independent and able to, they can run without me. So right now, my youngest is 9, the firstborn is 13. So what I'm doing now is to try as much as possible to create time for them.
Right.
Like I've set aside Tuesdays. I always pick them from school. They use the school bus in the evening.
Okay.
But on Tuesday specifically, I pick them from school.
Okay.
We go buying ice cream. It's our ritual. Then we go home. So we sit together. Of course, they'll be busy with their homeworks. So if they're doing homeworks, I also decide to do a bit of office work. And then we have a prayer day with them, which they lead.
Yes.
Yeah, they lead, So that's how I've created time. And then, of course, at least one day over the weekend, especially Sundays. So Sundays, I don't have any commitments besides family. That's how I've managed to balance, to just be there. And now I drop them to school every morning. Yeah, because it's on my way, actually. So we'll have a conversation at that point. In the evening, the other days, I realize the time is too short, because they're also busy with other work.
Right.
So we don't get to spend as much time. But I also try, when they're on holiday, we go on holiday away, like for a week.
Okay.
Then I don't have work.
Okay.
So we will go and do what children do. We shall swim together. We shall do all those things together, because it's a way of bonding with them, for me to also get to understand who they are.
Right.
Yes.
Eva, how have you managed that balance? The other thing, of course, we have to mention is you had a life-changing experience, which I was glad you shared with us the last time. How did you manage all of that while still doing what you do at work?
Okay. Yeah, just like Kate, I'm also married. I have 3 children. I have one up against all of you. So I have 3 children. And just like Kate, when my kids were younger, is when I was working in corporate.
Okay.
And most corporate jobs, they understood when you had young children. So I also had one of those flexi workings that go to work at 9 and leave by 3.
Wait, were these all for both of you when you were starting? Were they here or abroad?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got my kids when I was here.
That's refreshing to hear.
Yeah. A lot of these organizations have changed and made changes for mothers. So that worked for me. But of course, corporate banking gets busy.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you get home late and you don't get to see the children. But I think what I say, there is no perfect balance.
Right.
You just have to put it at the back of your mind that you need to spend time with these children.
Yeah.
So you create time. And as for me, I've always dropped my kids to school. So for me, that's my moment. Even if I miss an evening or I miss a weekend, at least I know we've spent 30 minutes in the morning and I get to hear what they have to say up until now.
Yes.
But as you've mentioned, 2 years ago, I got sick.
Yes.
And that was not possible.
Yes.
But now I was home. But now the hard part was I was sick all the time.
Right.
But what I did, I would just psych myself up from morning when they go to school. And I would pray and tell God, let all the puking and all those things to happen between now and 4.
Right.
So that when my kids come at 4, I would at least shower and try to look, put a little makeup just so that you look a bit nice, so that I can have a moment with them, just that 1 hour. And then I would tell them, I've been busy working, I need to lie down.
Oh, wow.
And they understood. So, in fact, we had a joke at home where I would say, Mom needs to do a 20 minutes lie down. Yeah, so that is how I survived. But as I say, it's all about being intentional, because you're never there are many things to do. Like now, I do run my own business, yes, but sometimes I get consultations that, are long-term. Like now I'm doing one that are long-term, and it requires me to report to an office just like an employed person. So when that happens, you have to change the timings.
Right.
When you have time, then you spend time with them. But always find that one thing that sticks, like dropping, picking.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Being the bosses that you are, I think we'll wind up with this. Of course, there's that aspect of also being led. Even as a boss, there has to be that time where you meet someone where they have to be above you and give you instructions. How do you handle that? How do you navigate through that?
I'm quite comfortable with it because, like I said, the structure of audit was you'll always have somebody above you, unless you're the partner.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll always have somebody above you. And I've been very fortunate to have very good bosses. Bosses who are very understanding of my personal situation. Bosses who are ready to help you grow, They want to see you growing and developing. And I've had bosses coming to ask me, why don't you do this course, before I've even thought about it. And they are ready to even support it by funding it. So it's been easy for me, but also to understand that yes, there's a hierarchy. I cannot decide, what, like now I'm in 4 boards. Yes, I'm a boss there. But when it comes to my office, I cannot go with the same attitude that I'm a boss. There I'm an employee. And I have my seniors who I need to respect and carry myself like a normal employee. And if they give instructions, I cannot challenge the way I challenge in the other place, because they have their mandates, I have my mandates, and I have to respect. So with that respect, with that understanding, it's been easier now to navigate. Whether I'm being led, whether I'm leading, whether I'm the most senior person, yes, it's been easy for me to adapt here.
And how's it been for you?
I think for me, first you have to be aware of yourself. For me is knowing when that moment is coming, when I need to pull away, because you are not always a boss. Sometimes, not sometimes, always there'll be someone above you. And
even your own customer.
Yes. And so sometimes you have to call yourself to a small meeting and tell yourself you need to listen, Eva, or this is not how to approach this. So you just, for me, I love dialogue. I like to talk. So if something happens with my boss that I don't like, I'll find a moment and then I'll bring it up. So then we reach to that point where we agree how to go about it. And I was just sharing with you, like I haven't had a boss for a while. Because I have been out of employment for a while, but now I keep finding myself finding these consultations. I have to go to these organizations and change things, and there's a whole hierarchy there of people, and for some they don't understand why you're there. So I have learned to just keep quiet and just do what I need to do and make the difference. Then that way they notice you and they listen to you. But you just have to learn to listen, because you can't always be the one saying. And as you said, when you're dealing with customers, your customers are your bosses, and they come with certain expectations, and you have to deliver. And if you can't, then you have to explain why you can't deliver, and you have to do it in a way that communicates at their level. Remember, I started by saying empathy. You have to always put yourself in somebody else's feet and understand why they're saying what they're saying.
So as we celebrate International Women's Month, we're finding more and more women taking leadership in their communities, in their businesses, and the opportunities are becoming a bit bigger, and even corporations are taking more notice. What would you say has been your biggest lesson in leadership, and what would you advise women who want to take up those roles?
I like to say a quote that a friend of mine says, "You are enough." You are enough.
I love that.
Simply that. Because it's because of the self-doubt that we don't go for opportunities. It's because we don't think we can do what the men can do. But you are enough the way you are. And like somebody used an analogy is, imagine yourself as a peacock. Even when you're serving in those board positions, like the very first board I served in, I was the only lady. It had 8 board members. I was the only lady. I would have sat there and felt, oh my God, what do I know? Oh, these are men, and some are quite senior. They were audit partners in some organizations. But somebody say, you're the peacock. Show your beauty. You don't have to lead as a man. You don't have to think like a man. But you are enough as a woman to bring those ideas that you can bring. Like women, we are known to be more, we are more nurturing. We have a nurturing nature. So even when those decisions are being made at the board table, then you'll tend to understand an employee better than a man would. And I'm not trying to downplay it. But it's just the concept of feeling, yes, I am enough. I have what it takes. I'm here by right. I've not been pushed here. So that's what I would say. Just know, as a woman, you're enough.
Love that.
For me, I would like to put it this way. As a woman, say yes.
Love that.
Say yes. Yes, because I think many times we talk ourselves out of opportunities. And I think someone once gave, when a role is advertised, a woman will have 80% of the requirements and they will not apply for the job. But a man will have 30.
Right.
And he will apply. And once again, not downplaying the men. But so for women, we tend to talk ourselves out of things. First, say yes. Then once you say yes, now take the time to understand what you said yes to and work yourself to getting to that level. And as Kate said, you are already enough. You came with 80%.
Right.
You really are just filling in the 20%. But you will never know that if you don't say yes.
100%.
So I would urge ladies as they are coming up, say yes to opportunities. Don't think I can't do it. First say yes, then go figure out how you will do it.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's been amazing having you with us. I wish we had more time. We'll look into another session once again. But I love what you've left us with. First of all, understand that you are enough and be bold enough to say yes, because you got what it takes. This has been the first episode of Women per Excellence. We're going to be available on all DSPs. Look out for more from this particular podcast. We'll catch you guys again the next time. Have a fantastic one.